Hey, hey! I want to talk to you today about what has become the most popular design in the Stitch Stories shop, and that is moths. When I began to design it this summer, I looked at old naturalist illustrations from the 1800s, and I was looking for the different lines on moths, the different shapes of moths, and colors. This is definitely not scientifically accurate, but it also does pull from that, and that might be part of its popularity. I wanted it to look somewhat like a pin board of moths, or you might have seen pin boards of butterflies. So, thus, the arrangement of several moths. I'm working in a hoop design, so my challenge was to make that gallery look, and I had to overlap things also because it just wouldn't look right with this circular design to have the space. It wasn't working out that way. So in the center is a moth that's heavy on oranges, and that one is really unique in how its color stands out. But then you'll see there's a triangle, a visual triangle of moths that are heavily blue and green, and then a visual triangle of these tiger moths that are black and sort of a salmony red. So that gives the design unity, helps it work the way the colors are set up, the way they flow. These colors really were inspired by the colors I was seeing in naturalist illustrations. So let's talk about why it's so fun to stitch. Just starting with that moth in the center, and I've got one going on right now here. So much fun to stitch. I've stitched it several times. You can see right in the center there's, let's see, it's outlined with the outline stitch, but then we've got like a little bit of chain stitching under here. Those zigzaggy stripes are done with satin stitch. There's vertical stripes that are done with the back stitch for the lines, and then French knots, columns of those. There's fly stitches for these Ys, some more chain stitch, some satin stitch, some bulky French knots around the head, some yellow satin stitch for the head. It's so much fun, and that's just one of the moths. And then if we look at the others, those tiger moths are very heavy on satin stitch, and they play sort of a background role. They aren't as show-offy as the other moths. And then this one over here, some bulky French knots in the center, satin stitches, chain stitches, back stitches, outline. The Luna moth over here, again, more of the French knot, the satin. So many fun stitches to work with. So it's a really fun piece to stitch, and it's beautiful for display. And it has been so popular that I've added it in other, media. So somebody asked me, one of our customers asked, what about creating stick and stitch versions of this, like pulling each moth out? And this is that paper it's sticky on the back, so you can cut one moth out, peel off the sticky back, put it on your fabric, and then stitch it, and then you soak it and the fabric washes away. So this way, if you want to get moths into different places. So we have this version of it, and also it comes, I'll show you the main kit, but I've also created a stick and stitch version of the whole piece so that you could put it onto any fabric you want. Most people get the kit, which the kit includes the 4-page stitching guide, a tin with the fabric, the pattern printed to fabric. This is 10.5-inch cotton fabric. I like to stitch one layer. Some people like to add a second layer of cotton and stitch through two. What I do instead is I back it up with a second layer when I frame it. So there it is on fabric. And you also get in this tin, you get 2 needles and a needle minder. We recently switched. If you've been getting kits for a while, you'll have seen those old, oh, I thought I had some. Hold on. I do. We had been, these small little teacups were what were coming in our kits as the freebie, but we're switching over to these enamel ones. And so you get that in your kit, and then you get the 8 skeins of floss that let you create that design, and a bamboo hoop. And then the 4-page stitching guide has a whole bunch of details. It's got a great illustration on the front so that you can see in detail how I stitched it. And then it's got a stitching guide that tells you exactly which colors to use and which stitches to use, unless you just want to do your own thing, which is fine. The colors are not labeled necessarily with DMC floss colors. They're labeled with colors that are just easy to read and short. You can go to stitchstories.com/DMC to see the full list of DMC floss colors in any of our kits. Then there's always another page in the guide that goes into detail about all the kind of little things about stitching it, lots of extra tips, and on the back page are illustrations for how to do the stitches. So that's what you get in the kit. And again, you could also get this, if you didn't want it printed to fabric, you could get the guide with this printed to peel and stitch, stick and stitch paper. You peel off the back and stitch it. That does not come with floss. You can just get it like that. You can also just buy the stitching guide in the fabric. And we've got those moths that you can break out. So if you want to find moths, you can go to stitchstories.com/moths and you'll find the full pattern. If you want to see the stick and stitch versions, you can go to stitchstories.com/stick. So I hope you finding some pieces to stitch right now that you're enjoying. If you're looking for a project that's got a lot of engaging, engrossing kind of stitch combinations and that looks great to display either in your own home or to gift, then I think Moths is a great choice. Happy stitching. Bye, guys.